Now, some of you, not all of you, but some of you probably thought like I thought, that once Al Ewing was done writing X-Men Red number 18 and ended the series, that he was done with the X-Men. But then you, like me, would be wrong, because he killed Magneto, and now it's time to bring him back. My name is Dorian, this is SCM Comics. We are continuing our coverage of the Fall of House of X with Resurrection of Magneto number 1. So our story starts off with Magneto just kind of standing there in some kind of unknown place. And he says, Aurora, I was wrong. And we see 5 helmets around him. 3 of the helmets look like his normal helmets that he would wear. Some have blood coming out of them. And one has like some kind of green goo. And then you have a white one and a black one that's just sitting there. And on the next page, you see that Storm is having a nightmare. She wakes up screaming, no. She also has lightning in her eyes. And then lightning starts to go everywhere. And we see that Craig Marshall is sleeping right next to her. And oh my goodness gracious. Now I'm sure if Storm was a real person, she'd be one of the most beautiful women in the world. But oh my God, that is a dangerous girlfriend to have. So he grabs her and he finally calms her down. And he didn't get electrocuted. I don't know how. And then out of nowhere, we see the orphan kids that Craig Marshall was trying to transport during the Genesis War in X-Men Red come out of nowhere. It's like, we heard a commotion. What needs to be killed? Those are my kind of kids. So then Craig Marshall's like, it's okay, kids. It was a nightmare. Go back to bed. And Storm's like, they're adorable. And Craig's like, don't tell them that. They'll think it's a challenge by insult. And then he's asking her what was the nightmare about. Was it the big push against Orchis? And she was like, nah, it was something else. So now we switch to the Kadesh base. I think I pronounced that right. Which, for those of you guys who are not familiar with Blue Marvel, this is his base of operations, which is in the Mariana Trench, which is the deepest part of the ocean. He and Talia, I think I pronounced that right. I don't know. That's a lot of A's for a name that only got 5 letters. Anyway, she is the mother of Galen, who in the 6th Cosmos became Galactus once it became the 7th Cosmos. Long story, but yeah, she's the mother of Galactus. And they were warned by the one above all, yes, the one above all, that pretty much the Dominion or Enigma is going to take out Eternity. And if you take out Eternity, then you pretty much take out everything. And they're trying to figure out how Orchis and the Dominion are connected. Not really, they're not. I mean, besides, you know, Bargain Bin Sinister, they're really not connected. Anyway, their alarm starts to go off and all you hear is, Dr. Adam Brashear, I have a long journey to make to parts unknown and you've been my travel agent before. Storm walks in. So Galactus' mom act like she wants to throw down with Storm, which Adam Brashear had to calm her down and be like, hey, she's on her side. Pretty much he protected her from swooping. And so Storm's like, I'm glad to see you're on our side, Doctor. And Blue Marvel's like, oh, Orchis, they're everything I despise. And he would know because he was a hero in the 50s and 60s. So he knows about bigotry, hatred, and discrimination. And trust me, we're going to cover Blue Marvel here on the channel in the future because it's a crazy story. It's a really good one. So Blue Marvel pretty much lets her know that when it comes to the Defenders, they got the mutants back. So then Storm's like, good, because I need a favor. So Storm lays out to Blue Marvel exactly what she needs. And she felt like he was going to be like, that's impossible. There's no way. Instead, he considered it for a second, then nods his head as if he was going to go fix a shelf. Because again, if you're not familiar with Blue Marvel is up there with the smartest intellects in the universe. I mean, like, he's top 5. He even said, like, Reed or Doctor Strange would have been like, you know, that's impossible. He's like, I like to start with the impossible. So Storm's like, so are you sure you know exactly what you're going to be doing? And he's like, oh yeah, I got this. You need me to go to the mutant waiting room that Wanda Maximoff created for you guys when you die. I got it. So he takes this magical seed that Insaminor gave to Storm and he puts it into his machine. And next thing you know, the door opens up and there's a gateway to the waiting room. So now Blue Marvel's like, all right, we need to go over safety protocols. And Storm's like, first off, I've been here before. It's not gonna involve, there is no safety protocols. And she just jumps and he's like, don't. So as she gets in there, she sees all kinds of crazy things. You see Mistress Death, or that looks like Mistress Death. You see the head of the Living Tribunal. Well, the 3 heads of the Living Tribunal. And guess who's waiting on her? Harn the Uncaring. He's like, Storm, welcome to the afterlife. So the Storm's like, what are you doing here? And Tarn's like, am I not a mutant? Am I not dead? Isn't this a place for when mutants die? That's why I'm here. So then Torrance like, but what are you doing here? Because somehow he knows that she's not there through conditional means, in other words, dying. And she says she thought about lying, but then she decided not to, and she tells him, I'm here to get your killer. I'm here to save Magneto. So then he goes, you do see why I would take that as a direct insult and can't have that. And then he starts to transform. Now, for those of you who don't know who Tarn the Uncaring is, let me break down his powers, because it's kind of scary. He can manipulate DNA with his mind. That means if he likes you, he can give you more power. If he doesn't like you, he can depower you. He can also give you new powers if he wanted to. He can reverse aging, so I'm assuming he can do the same thing in the other way, so he can accelerate aging too. He's also a telepath, and he has superhuman strength, just as Vulcan. Trust me, Tarn is just like Wu-Tang Clan. Ain't nothing with him. So Storm is definitely familiar with Tarn's power. And one thing, besides using his power, Tarn loves to do is talk. So he's just talking away. And while he's talking, Storm is wondering why the hell he's not using his power on her, and why is he only using it on himself. And then she realizes that he can't. And Tarn, he isn't phased at all. He's like, I don't need to be able to use my power on you. I'll just use it on myself to devour you. After that, I'll come back to life, and then I'll really raise some havoc down there. So that instead of doing that, he's just monologuing again, because that's what he does. And Storm's like, he doesn't want me to notice something. And she looks down and realizes that he is standing on a cloud. And she's like, you know I'm a weather witch, right? And sends the biggest lightning bolt through Tarn, and pretty much he's done. Over. Finito. So as soon as she got rid of Tarn, her ancestor, a Sheikh, comes down. So she pretty much wants to know why Storm is there. And Storm is sitting there and she's thinking to herself, she's like, do I really tell her I'm here because of a dream? And I guess in that place, she can read her mind. And she's like, hey, dreams are how the gods pretty much talk to us. She says even eternity, a being that powerful, will use dreams to communicate with people. So she's like, all right, describe your dream and don't leave out any details, because details are very important when it comes to this. So Storm does. She pretty much describes the first page on the comic book, and then she's like, this is your friend, right? Is he worth it? So Storm pretty much tells her they always didn't see eye to eye. Actually, they didn't see eye to eye most of the time. But if he's in trouble and he's suffering, then yeah, he's worth it, and she needs to try. So the Storm's like, all right, it's time for me to ask some questions. Where the hell is everybody at? So then the Sheikh's like, I don't know where they went. I just know the direction that they went into. And she points to Mistress Death. So then Storm's like, well, they are truly lost then, because there's no escaping her. And all I'm thinking to myself is like, yeah, right. A lot of people come back from Mistress Death. But that's another story for another day. And even a Sheikh pretty much is on my side. She's like, look, I died 1,000 years ago, went to Mistress Death, but you see me here. So Sheikh's pretty much letting her know, look, there's no time to waste. We need to make a decision fast. And then she shows her how Blue Marvel and Galactus' mom is working on her, trying to bring her back to life. And Blue Marvel is screaming, breathe, Storm, breathe. So then a Sheikh points to this tower and tells her that's where you need to go. And then all of a sudden she's already in there. And then she's like, all right, there's only one direction to go now. And all of a sudden the tower blows up and Storm starts falling down. Now, as she's falling right next to the dominion of the Phalanx. And if I had to take a guess, because I did not read every single X book ever since the Krakoa era started, I'm guessing that this is the dominion that scared the original Nathaniel Essex into becoming Enigma. And the Phalanx Dominion is well aware of Enigma. It explains to Storm how the Beyonders were so scared of Enigma that they actually did the incursions to try to wipe out the multiverse. Unfortunately, it didn't work and it just continued on, so Enigma continued on too. So Storm is well aware how dangerous a Dominion is. So she also knows that it craves information, and asking questions kind of leads into that. But she also knows there's no getting around it, and she has to ask a question. So she does, and she asks, has Magneto come through this way? And the Dominion answers, yes. And the way it analyzed Magneto, it's pretty gruesome. It then said he was not viable / useful / enough information for assimilation / consumption. But then it looks at Storm and goes, you on the other hand, you are of greater interest, worthy, useful, consumable. And she don't even know if her powers will even work on the Dominion, but what other options does she have? So she raises her power level and goes, consume this, and hits it with lightning. So she doesn't even know if that did anything to it, but it does say pain, recalculating, and then hits her with some kind of beam that pretty much separates her different lives that she's lived throughout the year. And then she's thrown down, and then she gets up and she's in the same spot that Magneto was in when she saw him in the dream. And she has 5 tiaras on the ground in the same way that Magneto had 5 different helmets. And then she starts thinking to herself, whatever this place has done to Magneto, it's probably going to do worse to me. On the last page, we see Magneto looks like he's burning, but he's also surrounded by looks like the names of the victims from the Holocaust, and his eyes are bleeding and probably not there. This is gonna be crazy.